So tell me about the time, sometimes when you're moving a piano that you just get two guys off the street.
Well, you see, if I see a chance of, I want the piano out of the house, we've got to vacate by 4 o'clock, then I'll go to if I don't have any help, then I'll just drive with car and trailer to the house. If it's a main door with maybe no stairs, then I can lift the piano onto a trolley, which is 4 wheels. I can throw it up at an angle of 45 degrees, kick the trolley underneath, and wheel the piano out and lay it flat in the trailer. If it's maybe 1 or 2 up, then I'll look for a couple of strong people and say, look, do you want a couple of quid? Can you help me with this piano? And most of them say, oh, I've got a sore back. I say, look, it's not heavy. So what I do is I strip it down. I take all the panels off. These all come out, look. See, these are the notes. They all come out, and that takes about 1/3 of the weight out of it. And then it's, I give them a couple of quid, and they're happy. They always think it's funny, of course, which it is, really. And then I come back to the house here and look for somebody passing by. But I usually get my son or my daughter. In fact, I can almost get them upstairs myself, but a bit of manoeuvring, but it's tricky. I sometimes roll them right over. And anyway, I was once coming out of a house in Beath, I remember. I was coming out, pulling the piano in a trolley, and this guy was standing watching me. And when he saw there was nobody at the other end, he said, what? And so I'm walking out of the house, and he thought, waiting for the other man at the other end, there's nobody there. But it's easy, as I say, it's a balancing act. And I lie the piano flat and transport it back here. But when I've sold it, then the people pay for the removal, and it's done by the people that I use, who are pretty reliable guys, and they come and lift the piano out of the house and deliver it. Let's pull this one away from the wall. Okay. Now there is a handle at the back which lifts like so. Okay. And when I put if there's nobody to help me, then I'll throw the piano right up at an angle of 45 degrees, like so, right over like that. Okay. And then I'll kick the trolley underneath and let it down slowly on the trolley, and there we are. And I can move it about. Good for me. Aye. Not a bad condition for a man of my age.
They phone up, and they want something tuned. What are they saying? What are they wanting it for?
The children. Oh, we've had this piano for about 3 years, and we keep meaning to get round to getting it tuned. And we saw your name in the yellow pages, or somebody said that you would do it for us. And how much do you charge? I say, well, depends what's to be done. And I often ask them to play the piano over the phone, which makes them laugh, you see, and that breaks the ice. And then I suggest they can tune the piano correctly or leave it flat, whatever. But they ask them if they can afford to spend so much money, maybe 30, 40 quid, to get it right. To which they often say, oh, yes, that's fine. Or, oh, as much as that. I've been quoted less than that. And so I usually get it. I usually get I can often say, look, I'll come now. And they're taken aback. They say, what? Can you come now? I say, well, I'm in the house tuning. I'll come and do yours now. Oh, we phoned somebody. They said they couldn't do it for 3 weeks. So I've got the advantage there. So I don't touch the school's pianos. A lot of tuners go round and round the schools, and that's their full-time job.
If you could explain briefly in layman's terms, I suppose it is quite simple, but when you say you can leave it tuned flat, what do you mean by that?
They don't know what it means, or sometimes they do. Majority of people don't know. And then I say to them, well, we want it, would you like it up on pitch with the orchestra? And one particular person said, well, we couldn't get an orchestra into the house. Things like that. I explained to them that the best will come out of a piano because they're designed to stand at this so-called 440 cycles per second. it's called standard pitch. Some people call it concert pitch, which means that I think I said earlier on that it was internationally agreed about 1936 that would be the pitch. And so I say to them, well, look, it's going to take perhaps longer to pull it up to concert pitch, and there's no guarantee it will stay there right away, because pulling maybe 2 or 3 tons onto it. And they say, well, yes, go ahead. And I soon know whether it will take the pitch, because very often the pins are loose and I can't, so I leave them flat.
So, I mean, what are the advantages of that? I mean,
well, it means that if somebody comes into the house with a trumpet, particularly a brass instrument or a reed instrument, that they can move maybe a quarter tone, but they can't really, maybe a semitone. But it's difficult for a piano that's tuned as, say, a full tone, semitone flat. It's difficult for a trumpet to stay in tune, or a recorder or anything like that. So I bring them up to the correct pitch. And that means that all the family can play their flutes and concertinas or accordion. And the guitar, of course, can move, the banjo can move, but these instruments are set, and there's no way we could play with an accordion if the piano's flat. It just would sound dreadful. The least important thing in a piano bar is a piano. That doesn't matter. Now, let me give you an example. I was called to play the piano in one of the well-known hotels for a wedding breakfast, and a friend of mine who also does piano music phoned me for some reason, and I said, oh, look, I've got to have to go down and get this piano tuned. I'm playing it at midday. He said, oh, that piano's all right. And I said, what do you mean? I said, have you seen the piano? He said, yes, they've just painted it white. And I said, what are you saying? And he said, well, that grand piano's just been painted white. And then he laughed and he said, well, of course, that's the old story, that's the old joke. He said the piano player phones up the hotel, says, look, is the piano in tune? Is everything okay? And the manager says, yes, we've just had it painted. That's all they think. If it's been painted, it's in tune. So then this particular person said to me, he said, but David, the piano has been painted white. And when I arrived down there to tune it before I played it, it had been painted white. So therefore, the least important thing in a piano bar is the piano. Not always, but...
Can I just ask you, would that affect the sound anyway?
Yeah, it did. The person who painted it was their local maintenance man painted it, and he never took any of the panels off to paint it, he just painted it. And of course there was no way I could... It was still wet, the paint was still wet, and they were having this wedding breakfast. And I couldn't remove the cradle, the music desk, to get it. It was a grand piano, I couldn't remove that because the paint had stuck the whole thing. Fortunately, the piano was in tune because I'd been tuning it fairly regularly over the years. But yeah, it's interesting what they say about this in the United States of America. It would say here that it says that there are so many. An average tuner would work. They tune maybe 750 instruments per year. It just says that it would take an army of tuners. If everybody were to have their piano tuned, all the owners in America, it would take something like 15 to 20,000 technicians, and it would keep all these guys in work. Well, it's probably nothing like that in America, so I mean, it's a huge thing. But getting people to pay for piano tuning is the last thing. Oh, it's only for our daughter. Oh, it will do. I remember going to one house, a Chinese lady, and she asked me to tune this piano, which she'd just got. It was an upright. So I finished the upright, and I said, now how's the grand? It was a Broadwood grand, which I tuned about a year before. And she said to me, oh. I said, no. She said, my daughter having an exam next week, and we don't want a piano tuned because it will sound funny to her. So better just leave her away. She's used to that sound. And I thought that was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. So, yeah, but if everybody were to tune their piano as the Edwardians did 4 times a year, then pianos would be fine. They would be wonderful. There would be no need for the stretching up, the pulling back. They would be fine. Just simple maintenance. Even twice a year. But at least once a year.
But for most people, I mean, what is the average?
If I did a proper follow-up system, I would phone everybody. I'd have a diary and I would phone them every 6 months and say, look, do you want me to come and go over the piano again? But I don't have the time to do that.
So what happens when you go into a house to tune a piano? Can you tell me about the bit when you you start playing, like when you've tuned out a few
Well,
octaves?
what happens is normally I take the action out, stretch the octaves, stretch everything sharp, and then I say, now, would you like to watch the tuning? And sometimes, most times, they say yes, and they're quite intrigued with the sound when it's open, the action's out, and what you call chipping up. You pull the thing down and take it up sharp, and then I tune it in, and after about the third chord, the piano's come alive, and you can see them looking in, sort of saying. And then I do 3 octaves, and then I usually play the great, as a test piece, which takes in virtually every chord in the book, whether it be major or minor, is Jerome Kern's All the Things You Are. And then I usually slip down in the chromatic into the key of F, do something like Manhattan, all these great old tunes, and then the Birth of the Blues. I test it in about 5 or 6 different keys, and you see the looks, I sort of aware of them come in, the family come through, or the husband will come through from the kitchen, and they sort of look at me and they look at the piano, and they can't believe it, which is why it's wonderful, it's great. And then they pay me and say, thank you so much, and then I get a phone call from a friend and say, will you do the same to my piano? So it just rolls on that way. It's quite good. This piano tuning business gets me into all sorts of strange places. A piano tuner is a blue-collar job. Then, now, of course, if you can do anything, it's great. You can't put your son into. He's not going to be a piano tuner. Oh no, he's got to go. But in actual fact, it is a blue-collar job, and it's the tradesman's entrance, I would think. Like musicians as well, we use the tradesman's entrance. Not always. But in actual fact, I got a phone call from a young lad a few months ago, and he wanted to know a bit more about pianos. To cut a long story short, he's got a bursary for this piano. He came and worked with me, came several times. I've taken him out on tunings. He's so interested. He is so dedicated. His father spoke to me about it. I said, look, what else is he going to do? He's totally involved in this. And he got into the college. He starts at the end of the month.
You give out the handout that you gave me.
Yeah.
You give that to your customers. What is what is a sort of brief outline of that?
Well, just a piano is a natural substance. Like anything else, it's important that they realise that they do go a little bit sick. And a piano that's out of tune is like somebody who's in a mood. And they might come out of the mood if with a little love and care. You might be able to get somebody out of a mood. Sometimes it's difficult. With a piano, it's the same. It goes off colour. In other words, it becomes run down. The strings are out of sync. They do not work together, and it simply needs tuning. That is all. It just needs tuning. A bit of care and attention. And if the public would realise that, then fine.